afternoon, YouTube. This is Tired Metalhead Weatherman. I hope you guys are having a good Wednesday. It's hump day. We're on the way, and then for some of us, a 3-day weekend lies ahead. Now, took a little break yesterday because there wasn't a lot to talk about here. I mean, there was a slight risk of severe weather, but there wasn't a lot going on. If you look at the reports, it probably wasn't going to be until late anyway. But from the most recent case archive, it looks like we had 55 wind reports and 13 hail reports. Not a huge day, but there were some storms. There were some considerable storms. Today, however, we have an enhanced risk in the Dakotas, A, and then B, we have the tropics to talk about. So we'll be going over all of that today. So first, we're going to start with the severe weather, of course. So our main threat for this system is going to definitely be wind and hail. There is a small tornado threat towards North Dakota and maybe pushing its way into parts of Minnesota, but the bread and butter of this threat, especially for South Dakota, is going to be damaging straight line winds, especially significant damaging winds. We could be looking at 65 knots or greater very easily. And then towards North Dakota, we can't leave you out too. We have a pretty sizable hail threat along with that very isolated spin-up tornado threat. And of course, we'll look at tomorrow. I do think that this region tomorrow will be upgraded to a slight risk somewhere up in here. We'll take a look at some of the parameters and we'll go from there. But there even is a tornado threat with this as well, mainly towards Wisconsin and towards the boot of Minnesota. But the wind and hail threat are the greatest, will probably be the greater threats of the three. Then on day 3, which is really nice, on day 3, this is really nice. No severe storms forecasted at the moment. Would I rule out a marginal risk? No. But I'm not really getting a beat as to where it could be at the moment. So we're not going to worry about that, and hopefully things stay quiet. Now, we're going to go straight into the models here. We're going to take a look at the HRRR first. We're going to see what the radar could look like. And we're about maybe an hour or two behind, but I'm trying to get the 48-hour one so that way I can give you good info here. Get you, get you both good and thorough info. So we're still relatively up to date here. Excuse me. It's almost like that's almost like a trademark, honestly, at this point. So we're waiting until probably 04Z, which is heading towards the late evening and pushing towards the overnight hours. That's where we're expecting the storms to really start to develop. Coverage isn't that significant, but the environment is set in such a way where it's not really going to matter if any storms that pop up in this environment are going to have a chance for some damaging straight line to produce some damaging straight line winds and perhaps some significant ones, especially in South Dakota. Then, as we go towards tomorrow morning into the early afternoon, we'll have to watch the coast of Texas because that's where one of our I wouldn't say potential tropical systems, but one of our areas of interest for the tropics right now. There's a little system there that's spinning off the coast, looking to bring some more disturbed weather into the coastal regions and even into Mexico too, so you guys aren't out of this either. I forgot about you. So we're heading into Thursday afternoon, looking for these storms to pop up, and the HRRR doesn't really pick up on much of anything. There's a little bit of something towards Wisconsin, but in other areas it's relatively isolated, which is potentially a good thing. But we'll have to see how this plays out. This could easily uptrend or downtrend. So that's the thing about marginal risk. Don't ever sleep on them, but don't think that's an end of the world scenario. So we'll go into the overnight hours of Friday and head first thing in the morning. push into the afternoon, it's looking relatively quiet. Just a bunch of garden variety thunderstorms, some pop-ups around the southeast. Maybe a little bit of more focused activity towards Illinois and Indiana. Maybe heading towards the Ohio Valley. So that's really all we got coming over the next 48 hours there. But let's go up to one of the more recent model runs here and actually take a look at. It's freezing on me. But we're gonna take a look here at. There we go. We're gonna go to a more recent model run here and take a look at the upper level winds, especially at the mid to upper levels of the atmosphere here. Well, actually, we'll look at the upper levels and then we will take a look at the 850. We're actually taking a look high into the atmosphere. There's decent winds at the high levels. We'll take a look at the mid levels as well. And we'll move this along. We're sitting, I would say, right about 45, 50 knots. Sounds about right. We're going to take a look at the mixed layer cape as well and see how well this all will potentially mix to the surface, because that's how we get our damaging winds. These winds are often at the high levels of the atmosphere, and they eventually mix their way down. All right. So now we're going to take a look at our mixed layer cape, and we aren't getting super spectacular numbers. Cape honestly seems higher around eastern North Dakota more so than South Dakota. Storms this isn't really picking up on the same things as the National Weather Service, so it's a little bit of uncertainty here, but if any storms do form up in an area where there's good cape, I do think the environment is more than conducive enough to produce a pretty significant damaging straight line windstorm. I'd be going a little bit out of left field to say that I would expect a line of storms. I won't rule it out, but I find it relatively unlikely. Excuse me. But yeah, I find that relatively unlikely, so I'm not super concerned with it. We'll go ahead and take one look at the 850, the low level jet here. And maybe this is where we find what we're looking for. And really, I'm not super impressed by this either. Honestly, tomorrow might be a little bit better in regards to the low level jet, but we'll have to cross that bridge when we get there. So now we're gonna go to the tropics. Jeez, it's been a long day apparently. So here are our three areas of interest right now. And we have, of course, our system here that's just hanging off the Texas and Mexico coast. 40% chance of development within 48 hours, and same can be said within 5 days. I really honestly think that this might be a now or never type of window, because I think if it doesn't form within the next few days, this is going to be on land and it won't form at all. They do have a hurricane hunter out in this storm right now, and we probably will be getting an update shortly here, because this was this last advisory was put out at 2 p.m. Eastern time. It's now 5:33 at the time that I'm making this video, so a new update should be coming soon. Then we go to PTC2, Potential Tropical Cyclone 2, and this hasn't been updated in a bit. We'll actually click on this and take a look at the satellite imagery if we can. Actually, that did not work well. We'll go ahead and click one of these other ones. And honestly, it does not look that impressive. It's also booking it too. It's moving at about 21 miles an hour. The winds are still sitting at about 40. The pressure hasn't really dropped. If anything, it might have risen. Sitting at 1,009 millibars. If you're looking for a storm to increase, you want to see that pressure dropping. And then on top of that, its forward speed is definitely going to be playing a factor. Like I said, this area tends to be a hurricane graveyard, so it doesn't surprise me entirely that this thing is having a little bit of trouble getting together. And I feel like there's some other factors going on here as well, but it would take a long time to talk about that are coming into play as to why this storm has not formed yet. The waters are also cool over here, so that's yet another factor. There's a lot going on right now, I'll put it that way. So now we have this other system this other disturbance right here that's on the coattails of this, but moving a little bit further north and east, I would say. It's heading more towards the northern part of the Leeward Islands. It has a low chance of development right now. I do think that this has a slightly better chance of forming, but I think the environment's not super conducive. I mean, the waters around here are still somewhat cool. I mean, there's a lot, like I said, there's a lot going into it right now, and I'll look into it more. If I was making just a video on the tropics, I think I could maybe go into greater detail about it, but I don't want to keep making 20-minute videos for everyone. Oops. Ah, jeez. Bumped a little button here. But let's take a look at the 5-day and see what we have going on. So, yeah, this is, like I said, this first disturbance here that's closest to the U.S. The window for this is really short. Either this forms within the next few days or it doesn't form at all. And then with this system, I like the fact that, well, I like and don't like the fact that this is not riding on the coattails of PTC2, because like I said in a previous video, and I don't really think it's going to really cause any upwelling with this either, because I was expecting this to have formed by now. But whenever you get a stronger system, it takes up a lot of that warmer water on the surface and causes a lot of upwelling, bringing those cooler water temperatures that are sitting towards the lower levels of the ocean up. So it kind of almost creates a cold pocket, so to speak. But since this hasn't really formed up into anything, that probably isn't going to be the case. But I don't think this environment is great anyway. So we'll be watching the Windward Islands over the next few days. Of course, we'll be watching the coast of Texas, and then we'll be watching towards Nicaragua and Belize to see what PTC2 ultimately ends up doing. So we'll take one more look at maybe towards the western coast of Africa. I completely lost my sense of direction. We'll look towards the western coast of Africa, and we'll also kind of see if anything else kind of forms out here towards the Caribbean Sea. Go ahead and take a quick look here. Like I said in the previous like I said in, I think it was the last video, tropics definitely do look like they're starting to come into play. And here's our system, and here's one of our systems right here. Here's one of our systems right here. I don't think this is PTC2. I think this is the other one. The ensemble of the GFS, the ensemble version, I should say, of the GFS is painting a slightly different picture. Before, I was seeing this thing kind of pushing more off to the north and east, maybe becoming a fish storm. Now it's kind of got it pushing directly west. Does it follow in the coattails of PTC2? I mean, I'm not sure. I don't think so. And this is so far out still, so you got to take this with a grain of salt. Doesn't really show it forming much either. We'll take a close look at that over time. But you can also see other systems trying to make their way off of the western coast of Africa and towards Cape Verde. But I think the wind pattern right now is pushing these off in a spot where it's not very favorable for development, A, and then B. The closer you get towards this little high pressure right here, the greater the wind shear starts to increase, and that's something you don't want if you're looking for hurricane genesis or tropical genesis. So as of right now, it doesn't look like too much is going to be going on in the coming weeks. Maybe the first half of July might be quiet, but this can change at the drop of a dime, especially once we get within the next 150, especially once you get past 150 hours out on these models. So it's just a lot to watch. I'll probably be doing tropical updates maybe every 2-3 days, just to make sure I'm covering all the bases here. Of course, I'll be watching for severe weather, fire weather, etc. But if there's really no need to make a video, I'm not gonna try to be in you guys' face all the time, especially if it's to make a 20-minute video every day. I know not everyone wants to see that. But anyway, kept this video under 20 minutes, which I'm happy about. And really, this is all I got for you guys. If you guys like what I'm doing, drop me a like, leave a comment, share the channel, share the video. Greatly would appreciate that. But until the next video, whether it's tomorrow or the weekend forecast, where we'll even go over the 4th of July forecast, I'll see you guys soon either way. This has been Tire Metalhead Weatherman, and I hope you guys have a good hump day.